The first step in getting all of this up and running, of course, is deploying MinIO AIStor. So let's take a look at how you would go about doing that. The main deployment prerequisites that we have to run AIStor is an active Kubernetes environment and also the kubectl command line tool. All of the maintained releases for Kubernetes are listed there at the website scene. You have to be using a maintained release of Kubernetes for this, otherwise you will run into issues. To install AIStor, all you have to do is do that kubectl apply. Once you've deployed this, it's going to stand up all of the services that are required to run AIStor. It all happens in the background, and once you've got this running, you can log directly into your console. To complete your setup of AIStor, you'll need to access the interface. The AIStor interface, your console, is going to run on port 8444 by default. This port needs to be exposed so that you can get to it through your web browser. You can use kubectl proxy. You can also use something like Ingress and Nginx or something similar to actually get that port available to your web browser. Once you log in the first time, you're going to need to do your license activation. AIStor requires a MinIO Enterprise license. This license can be obtained from Subnet. Additionally, once you've set up your first site, AIStor can be added as a site of another AIStor deployment, and we'll show you how to do that in the demonstration. After you've gotten your license validated, you'll need to create an admin user on your main deployment. Use an email address for the admin username, set your password securely, log in, and you're good to go with AIStor console. Let's go ahead and take a look at a little demo of how all of this works. So I've run my kubectl apply, I've got my MinIO AIStor console port exposed, and now it's ready to ask me for my license. I'm going to go ahead and put in my license information right here. This license information comes from Subnet. I'm going to go ahead and click continue. Now I need to set up my email, will@min.io, and my password. It's going to make sure that they all match, and then I'm going to click finish setup. Once it finishes setting up, it's going to log me in directly. I don't even need to re-enter my admin username and password because it knows who I am. As you can see here, I've got a single site available to me. Let me show you how to add a second site to this. In order to add that site, you click on the Add Site button, and then you're asked for the API endpoint and API port that you want to use. The API endpoint that I'm going to be using is the current deployment. So I'm going to actually just type in the host name for this current deployment, which is demohc1 lab.learn.min.io. API port 7899, again, needs to be exposed so that other AIStors can communicate with this AIStor. Once I've finished this up, I just click on Save, and then I'm presented with, here at the bottom, a token. This token is what I'm going to use to configure another AIStor. Let me go ahead and copy this. Now that I've copied that, I'm going to go ahead and move over to a different AIStor. Here on a different AIStor, again, I'm presented with this license information. I'm going to go ahead and click Add to another AIStor. My site name is what I'm going to call this deployment. I'm going to call it Test2, and I need to put that token in that I got from the other screen. There is the complete token. Notice that it ends with demohc1 lab.learn.min.io. That's the host name that I gave it on the other system. I'm going to go ahead and click Join. And after a few seconds, this site is now linked to the other one, and I can control it from the other site. Let's go back to the other site. Here on my main site, you can see that I now have a local site and also this Test2 site available, which I stood up. Again, the name that I put in on the other deployment is the one that appears here. I can do anything that I would like to do with my local site. I can also do on Test2. That's the glory of this console. Let me go ahead and click on local site though. The first time you connect to your site, it's going to ask if you would like to manage the locally attached volumes using DirectPV. I'm going to say no to this for right now. It's also going to ask if you would like to enable encryption for the site. Again, I'm going to say no, but I could actually stand this up right when I fire up my system. Here on my local site now, I can actually stand up a drive manager. That was the first prompt, or a key manager, which was the second prompt. What we're trying to do with MinIO AIStor is take care of some of that back-end busy work so that you can have this up and running the moment you add your site. So if I click on Object Store, this is how I'm going to add a singular object store. This is going to be my demo object store, and I need to give it a namespace, demo namespace. Now, I can create namespaces quite easily, just like that. To create the namespace, I'm also going to now set this up. I'm just going to do one server, 20 gigs. It doesn't need to be a huge server here. And notice that it sets my erasure code parity to a value that's available to me. I'm also using local path for the locally attached storage. It's preferred to use something like DirectPV or a persistent volume claim, but for a simple demonstration, this will be just fine. When I click create, it's going to create a new object store. These credentials are going to be the admin user. It's a good idea to download these for import. It's going to give you these credentials in a credentials JSON file that you can use with the MC command to set up an alias. I'll go ahead and download that. And once I've downloaded, I can simply close this window. So now we just wait while it finishes the setup, and we are waiting for our object store to be healthy. As soon as our object store is healthy, we'll be able to take a look at some of the other features. Now that we have our object store up and running, let me show you a few of the other features that we have available. You can set up encryption for your object store through your settings. Encryption is right here. You will need to set up your encryption server with MinKMS. We'll do that in a future video. Additionally, you can set up a bucket, and we'll just call this one test bucket. On an individual bucket, you can set up information like the encryption for the bucket itself. You can set up a MinIO catalog. Again, we'll have another video for that. And you can also set up things like replication, your lifecycle, and all that other fun stuff. Here in our main access point, though, you can also set up your load balancer, which is another feature that we have available here. It's very easy to simply enable your load balancer and add a rule for your bucket. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and just allow anonymous access on the bucket and give it a rule name, test rule. And from there, we'll go ahead and save it. This rule will allow anonymous access to my test bucket, which I just set up. The last item I would like to show you before we end this video is observability. We have a full suite of tools available to us in our observability, including this amazing setup, which allows us to take a look at all of the drives in my erasure set. Now, with a 4-drive system, this isn't that astounding, but if I had a much more robust deployment, maybe with hundreds of drives, I would be able to see each and every one of those drives available here on my observability screen in a single pane of glass. I also am able to see which ones are critical, which ones are unusable. I can see which ones are approaching limits or offline, and this is all happening in one single place. So that's just a brief overview of everything that you can do with MinIO AIStor. We've shown you the console, observability, the load balancer, a little bit about our KMS. We've also shown you catalog and how to just deploy an AI store. In future modules, you will see all of these features in more detail. If you'd like to reach out with us, you can connect with us on Slack at slack.min.io, or you can just leave a comment here on the video. Thanks, and we'll see you for the next one.